Bonjour, Français 3. Aujourd'hui, on va parler du conditionnel. This is a new mood that we are going to learn how to conjugate. The conditional refers to hypothetical situations. We get to dream a little with this tense. In English, we would translate it as would. We use it to make polite requests or to make a suggestion. You actually already know the conditional of vouloir. You've learned to ask for things by asking je voudrais. Alright, now let's take a look. How do we form this tense, this mood? Well, we start with the infinitive. That's your stem. So you literally take the verb as you would find it in the dictionary. Now, if you have an RE verb, you're going to take off that E because we need our stem to always end in R. And let's check out our endings. A, ion, ie, a. Now you're saying to yourself, wait a second, these look familiar. See, look again. Do they look, you've seen them. Where have you seen them? Where have you seen them before? They are the same as the imperfect tense. Alright, so the endings are the same, which is crazy. The endings are the same, but you will be able to hear the difference because there's a difference in the stem. Alright, for example, j'aimais jouer au foot. I used to like to play soccer when I was little. J'aimerais jouer au foot. I would like to play soccer. You hear the difference? J'aimais, j'aimerais. Let's take some examples. They're pretty crazy. Gagner in the new form. Well, the stem is gagner, and then we have ion. Nous gagnerions. We would win. Choisir in the to form. Tu choisirais. You would choose. Vendre. Now this is an RE verb, so we have to take off the E. Ils vendraient. They would sell. Pretty crazy, right? Super, super easy to form if it weren't for those evil, irregular verbs. I know, you're groaning as we speak. But here are their irregular stems. There's really not that many. I think we're looking at maybe 15 tops. Alright, so what? Not that many. Calm down. Alright, the verb aller, my irregular stem is ir, so that's what I would put my endings on too. Avoir, irregular stem is or. Courir, C-O-U-R-R. Devoir, D-E-V-R, devre. Être, the stem is ser. Envoyer, our irregular stem is envers. And faire, the irregular stem is faire. Remember, you can pause this video at any point. Don't feel like you should be writing as fast as I am speaking. Just pause it, write down the stems, and then continue. Here are the rest of our irregular stems. Falloir becomes faudre. Pouvoir becomes pour with two R's. Oh, look at it spinning. It's having so much fun. Recevoir becomes recevre. Savoir becomes, oh my, saur. Which is interesting because avoir was A-U-R, so savoir, just put the S in front. Venir, this one students commonly get wrong. It's viendre. Voir is ver with two R's. And vouloir is voudre. Like I said, you already learned the conditional of vouloir. Je voudrais. Another spelling change you should look out for is verbs that end in E with a consonant and then ER. That E is going to change to an E accent grave. You're going to see this in verbs like se lever. Remember that lève, levons, lever? We had that accent grave. It's the same thing. We're going to see it in the stem of the conditional too. Another verb like that is acheter, achèterai. Alright, here are 5. Go ahead, pause the video, try it out, conjugate them into the conditional. No, really. Stop. Pause. Alright, here are your answers. Je mangerai. It's important you know how to translate this. I would eat. Nous irions. We would go. Tu finirais. You would finish. Elle achèterait. She would buy. Vous attendriez. You would wait. Alright, you can pause here. This is really all we need to know right now. If you're viewing this for the second time, we're going to walk on and continue. Not walk. I hope we don't walk away. We're going to continue on with our Phrases Conditionnelles. Really, we can call them Si Clauses for short. These are any sentences that are if, then. They talk about some kind of condition or possibility, and then the result that would happen if the condition were met. In French, there's a very particular order of the tenses and moods that we need to use. There's really 3 types of Si clauses that you'll see. You'll see likely clauses, unlikely, and impossible. We're going to focus in on this middle group. So the next slide you can take a look at. Don't feel like you have to write down these notes on the next slide, but I want you to be familiar with. So a likely conditional clause is something like this. It's going to, in French, have si plus the present tense, and then it could be followed by one of 3 tenses. It could be si plus the present plus the present. For example, if it rains, I go to the movies. That's just what I do, present tense. Sometimes you'll see si plus the present followed by command. Like if it rains, go to the movies. Go here, this is the command. All right. The third thing you might see is the future. So for example, if it rains, I will go to the movies. So those are likely conditions because it's pretty likely that it rains. Now, my second kind that we're going to focus on are unlikely conditional clauses. All right, and this follows the formula of si plus the imperfect plus the conditional. This gets tricky because we still have to remember how to conjugate verbs into the imperfect. It's amazing, right? We learn something and then we keep using it. We don't just forget it. It gets confusing because yes, the endings are the same of the imperfect and the conditional, but the stems are different. So look out. All right. If it were raining, I would go to the movies. What would that look like? Well, s'il pleuvait, here's my imperfect. J'irais, here's my conditional. So if it were raining, I would go to the movies. We call this unlikely because if I were to say, yeah, if it were raining, that means it's not raining right now and it doesn't seem like it's going to any time in the near future. Another thing you might want to look out for is the fact that si clauses can start or end the sentence. Si doesn't have to begin it. So here's the reverse. I would go to the movies if it were raining. J'irais au cinéma s'il pleuvait. So the imperfect doesn't have to go first in the sentence. All right, but we're going to be working a lot with these. I see a project in your future. Just you wait. But what I want you to bring to class tomorrow is translate these sentences into French and then finish them with a conditional. So notice you're starting with si and the imperfect. If I were rich, if we did not speak French, if I went to France. So this is all the imperfect. And if you're still listening, I'll give you a little head start on the first half. It should look like this. Si j'étais riche, si nous ne parlions pas français, si j'allais en France. Those are your first half. That is the imperfect. So your job is to finish it with some kind of conditional. What would you do if you were rich? What would we do if we did not speak French? Obviously, we would be very, very sad. What would you do if you went to France? All right, bring those in tomorrow. We will talk. Au revoir.